What's your response to critics who say that you're marrying Stephanie for her money?
They can say what they like.
Deceived by her lecherous husband, Stephanie becomes the helpless victim of greed, desire, and a vicious crocodile.
Oh my God! God, it's huge! I'm watching it.
But Stephanie refuses to die and returns with a new identity to exact the ultimate revenge.
I need an agent. Someone who can get me on the cover of Vogue in 6 months.
Undetected in her new identity, Stephanie carefully sets her baited trap. Return to Eden premieres Wednesday, February 20th at 8 p.m.
At this time of year on TV, radio, and in the papers, everybody's making a lot of noise about sales. Mazda dealers don't shout deals. They make deals that are consistent great values, especially right now. Recent shipments have given us our best selection. That means better deals and immediate delivery of this remarkably well-equipped sports car. Great values don't need screaming and shouting. Come in today. Extra Mazdas mean extra good deals. But don't wait. This extra availability won't last long.
America, Kentucky Fried Chicken wants you to know your nuggets.
Know your nuggets.
Until you've tried new Kentucky Nuggets, you don't know how delicious chicken nuggets can be. They're the only nuggets made with the Colonel's secret blend of 11 herbs and spices.
Know your nuggets.
And if new Kentucky Nuggets aren't the best chicken nuggets you've ever tasted, we'll give you your money back. It's what you'd expect from the chicken experts.
Know your nuggets.
Kentucky Nuggets.
We do chicken right.
Sunday at 6, James Garner plays the con game.
How much? $1,000? We'll split it 50-50. That means $400 for you.
And plays the odds with hilarious results in Support Your Local Gunfighter.
For 22, the man loses. You gotta give till it hurts.
Support Your Local Gunfighter, Sunday at 6 on Channel 13.
Larry Cedar, a real label lover. He's wearing fine wool slacks by a famous manufacturer. They were purchased at Bullock's for $65 with the label. To Brendan Dillon Jr., it's quality that counts. His wool slacks by the very same manufacturer come from C&R without the label. The slacks are identical. At C&R, they're now $39.99. Cedar has the label, Dillon has the money. C&R, it's time you knew the truth.
TWA presents the difference between getting you where you're going and leading the way.
Leading the way. TWA. We're proud to have you ride with us. Relax, we'll make your day. Leading the way, TWA.
Taking that extra step to make flying the best it can be. That's what makes TWA one tough act to follow.
Come with us. The world is yours, so come with us. Leading the way, TWA.
Oh my goodness. Hello, people. Been a minute. I know some of you are like, Clara, where have you been? What's going on? Oh my goodness. Well, dude, sometimes I just, need to like regroup, Sometimes we need that. Okay? I'm only human, people. Okay? Can't spend my life online doing live streams all the time. Okay? Can't do it. Well, that's because you're stuck with me anyway, Cherry. So yeah, well. Too bad. Anyways, so I'm playing Beat the Clock here. There's a couple of things that I need to go over. And mostly I'm just going to go over just a little bit of the update. Today's not going to be real spectacular. But I'm gonna do my best to fit everything that I want to talk about in here. I was planning on possibly covering the Adam Montgomery trial. That dude, yeah, he's something else. And I'm gonna go over all the facts in that and everything eventually. And we'll go over the trial, I think. We love you. I love you too, Paul Cristoforo and everybody else. Thanks for being here. And big shout out to Paul. I know you guys had a very successful, peaceful protest that took place yesterday in front of the Norfolk County DA's office. Big shout out to you guys for doing that. Dana as well. It's good to see you, buddy. And everybody else who participated in that, man. You guys are, my hat's off to you. You guys are amazing. So now I there's a couple of things. So everyone on the internet everyone on the internet right now is freaking out. So I watched this this what is it? Cyber sleuths. The Cyber Sleuths documentary on Paramount Plus that featured some of this channel's old favorites. Fun stuff. Now, what I find most funny about it, this is gonna piss some people off, but what I find most funny about it is not so much. I mean, it was surreal, but it wasn't enough to like make me mad. You know what I mean? Like I went over, man. For years I've gone over Bullhorn Betty's content. It's really funny because they featured like certain creators that are just I've dedicated tons of my content to pointing out and exposing these people, these so-called cyber sleuths, for what they really are. And they're really just shitbags, honestly. Total and utter shitbags. Bullhorn Betty's a shitbag. Chronicles of Oblivia is a total shitbag. JLR, as we all know, is a total shitbag. And the only person that was up there that I saw that made any sense at all whatsoever was this Kathleen Hale, who is an independent author and an independent journalist who gets picked up by some pretty mainstream media outlets like Vanity Fair, for instance. And she wrote an article. Now, this whole thing is about the this whole documentary series. It's three-part series, and the whole thing is about these cyber sleuths who worked the Idaho slayings in Moscow, Idaho, that took place just a while back. And it is just funny because as it was going on, I was covering their coverage, and it was a joke. It was just funny, if anything. And I just pointed out the humor in it. And they got praised, basically. And I saw people were freaking out. There were people who were like, "Oh my goodness, how dare they give them all of this attention? How dare they, blah, blah, blah." Well, I mean, by freaking out about it, you're giving them exactly what they want. But second, like, it didn't do anything. Like, that's what I found really, really funny. I saw so many people, so many creators that hate, JLR and Bullhorn Betty, and they were just, and I don't like them either. I'm not a fan of them. But, one thing I noticed, I mean, this thing's been up for, I guess, 48 hours now. This thing's been featured on Paramount Plus, and I checked Bullhorn Betty's subscriber count. It hasn't moved. It's exactly the same. I mean, so you have to understand, like, these people, even though it wasn't an attack on these people and they weren't making fun of everything they said, these people still made themselves look idiotic, just moronic. I'm sitting here watching this thing and I'm like cracking up at almost everything Bullhorn Betty says, and almost everything that that JLR said. JLR basically just admitted to being a piece of shit. And it didn't paint these so-called cyber sleuths in a positive light. So why everyone is so panicked over this is just beyond me. Like, I mean, I'll go ahead and go as far as to say, hey, good for you guys. Good for you. I mean, you managed to get national attention for basically being utterly fucking useless. I mean, now JLR's channel has grown significantly, but that has nothing to do with being featured on a documentary, or everybody acts like being featured on some documentary is like like it's gonna change the game, and all of a sudden this person's channel who's being featured in this documentary, whether it be on Netflix or whether it be on Paramount Plus or any other fucking Hulu, whatever, nobody gives a shit. You know what I mean? Like, you've got, I know, Jules, but who cares? Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Like, it's so utterly pointless to like waste your energy worrying about this. It's just very, very funny to me because like it did nothing. It just did nothing. Okay, you look at Dad Challenge podcast, right? Dad Challenge podcast channel is constantly growing. Right? Everybody thinks that YouTube works like in this way where like you get a break and boom, you're popular. That's not how it works. Okay? That's not how it works. And I can say this because I've been doing this for like 5 years. I know, I am fully aware of what I would need to do in order to get, say, 100,000 subscribers, or or beyond that. I know exactly what you would need to do. The problem is that I'm just too fucking lazy. And I just don't care that much. Like, I am of the habit of just enjoying the attention that I'm getting, enjoying the fact that anybody gives a fuck what I have to say, and then I just focus on being grateful for that. But like Dad Challenge podcast did he covered the Gabby Petito thing, right? He's not a real crime creator. Those of you who've been around a while know that little reference there. And he killed it. He did so well that he was featured on Peacock. And I was excited. I was like, oh my God, yes. You know, I got super excited about that because his coverage was featured all over the Peacock documentary on the Gabby Petito case. And it didn't do anything for his channel at all. Nothing. His channel has grown significantly, but the only reason it grew was because he puts in work every single day. Okay? Every single day, that guy makes a video and he stays focused on what he actually is passionate about and cares about, which is exposing the dangers of family vlogging, right? And then, sure enough, you know, things happen, right? This picks up momentum and it's a win-win. He becomes successful on doing what he's passionate about, on exposing the issues that he's passionate about exposing. I would want nothing less for myself. So when people are worried about, oh my God, they got this exposure, like nobody really cares because people are going to log on and they're going to subscribe. And then the first time that they see one of these people act like an asshole, they're going to log off. You know? So worrying about the success of one of these people who are focused on this, you know, it's or the success of the people who are not focused but featured on one of these things it's just a waste of your own energy. Like it's not going to do you any good. People are not as stupid as, you know, on a mass level that we tend to think that they are. There's times where I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe so many people think this way and feel this way. It's insane. Makes no sense. Feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Happens all the time where I feel that way. But overall, for the most part, most people are just like, they see something and they're like, this is bullshit, right? Now, of course, nobody's going to watch. Nobody who's not aware and part of this community is going to watch that documentary and be like, oh my God, you know, because they don't know who the fuck these people are. But they didn't say anything that was impressive. They didn't say anything that could be that couldn't be debunked. They didn't expose anything. There was nothing featured there that went, oh my God, well, they did this and they did that. They showed that Steve Gonsalves, although he's a victim, the father of a victim, he still possibly, by being so loud and vocal, possibly has infected the investigation in a negative manner due to his feelings of due to his actions in being a result of his feelings and the emotions that are being stirred up of being the father of a victim, which is perfectly understandable. But I mean, the fact that he was all over the place talking to anybody, you know, what Chronicles of Oblivia got, you know, credit for getting an interview with that guy. That guy, you couldn't shut him up. This is a guy who again has the right to his opinions and has the right to his feelings, and he has the right to express them however he chooses. But at the same time, you got to also think there's 3 other families that are being affected by this. And if him being loud could affect those other 3 families getting justice, well, he should be more considerate of those 3 other families. That's my opinion. And I feel very strongly about that opinion. And I don't really give a fuck if anybody wants to say, oh, well, you're a victim blamer and you're this and that and blah, blah, blah. I don't really care if you feel that way. The fact is that Steve Gonsalves was talking too much and allowing his emotions to affect his judgment as far as getting judgment for this case. There's no questioning that. But you know, nobody looked at like, oh my God, Chronicles of Oblivion, Bullhorn Betty got to talk to Steve Gonsalves. Nobody looked at it that way. They looked at it like, oh my God, who are these jackasses that Steve Gonsalves is talking to now? Fuck. I mean, that's all that is. So those of you guys in the YouTube community, calm down, just relax. There's no narrative that these people are great that's picking up momentum. That none of that's happening. Just calm down and relax. It's not that serious. It's gonna be okay. Okay? It's gonna be fine. I promise. So moving on. So we've got let's see here. We've in the case of Turtle Boy versus the Commonwealth being represented by Ken Mello. Now these things have been this has been just really just a fucking clown show, if I'm being totally honest. Ken Mello seems to not have any idea what he's doing. He seems to be shooting himself in the foot habitually, always showing up to court unprepared. But we've got, hold on, that's not what I'm looking for. Hold on a second here. That's what I'm looking for. All right. So, last week, Tim Bradl, who is Turtle Boy's attorney, also known as Aiden Carney, and we'll see this here. He filed a motion, and I'm going to go over that motion real quick. And it says here, I mean, this has all the disclaimers. I'm of age, all factual statements made, blah, 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 blah. So it starts off pretty much by saying, when my client was incarcerated at the Norfolk House of Correction on or about December 26th, I was concerned that Commonwealth Counsel Mello would take advantage of the prosecution's ability to obtain recorded phone calls of my client. I wanted to make sure that the phone numbers of the defense team were properly exempt from monitoring. I know from 31 years experience in criminal law that mistakes have been made and privileged calls have been disclosed. I do not want that to happen on one of my cases. Now, for those of you who have been living in a cave, then what you're missing here is that Ken Mello filed a motion. We went over all of this before. Filed a motion trying to sanction Tim Bradl and accusing Tim Bradl of conspiring with both Karen Reed and Turtle Boy in order to harass victims. And he accused him of lying and stating that someone named Jennifer Altman was an attorney on his counseling team for Turtle Boy, when it turns out she is not. And clearly, based on the evidence, it absolutely looks like Tim Bradl was just simply mistaken and made an honest mistake. There was a transcript of the phone call that absolutely indicates this, which Mello tried to submit as evidence, but we know that that's absolute and utter bullshit. whatever Mello was trying to accuse him of. Because again, it was pretty much proven that this was just not a thing. It was just a clear mistake. So he filed a motion, Mello, on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, filed a motion that was denied. That requested that Bradl have to pay a fine of $10,000 to the court, and that from here on out, any conversations that take place between between Bradl and Turtle Boy, meaning Turtle Boy and his attorney, be monitored. To have a court-appointed mediator sit in and listen and basically violate Turtle Boy's right to counsel. Well, not his right to counsel, but his right to attorney-client privilege, which is just insane. It's just absolutely insane. Of course, that got denied. And then as a response to that, Bradl filed this motion. Based on my knowledge, hold on, here's the investigator against Mr. Kearney. We're also the same investigators on the Karen Reed murder case in Norfolk County, right? Which is also very weird. And this is why when I have idiots on this channel, such as Bitch Tim, who are saying that these cases are not connected, and we know that investigators in the Karen Reed murder case, the John O'Keefe murder case, John O'Keefe being a police officer in a different city, the same investigators who are trying to shut Turtle Boy up are the same investigators who Turtle Boy is accusing of corruption in the investigation into John O'Keefe, which led to the charging of Karen Reed in his murder and the implication of Karen Reed in his murder. Now, so when I have morons come onto this channel and say, well, they're not connected. This statement in one sentence proves it that they are connected. I believe that the investigation of the Reed case was itself under federal investigation by the Boston U.S. Attorney's Office. Based on my knowledge of the investigator behavior in my client's case, I formed the opinion that these investigators were desperate to learn anything they could about the investigation into their behavior by federal prosecutors. I think this desperation is evident and expressed in Commonwealth Counsel's motion. Oh my goodness. No.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad. I think we got a super dad.
Tara Rayner, thank you so much. I emailed Bradl the real rules for privileged phone calls and shows those added to the call list was acceptable. I have the screenshots, but heard zip. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't tell you as to why Bradl would not return your emails. I would assume that he's very busy. When I emailed him, I didn't expect a response. If I'm being totally honest, I assumed he was busy, and I didn't expect a response. So I guess I just got lucky, but I would assume, like I said, Tara, that he's very busy. I wouldn't take it personally. But thank you for that. It goes on to say, I formed this opinion that these investigators were desperate to learn anything they could about the investigation into their behavior by federal prosecutors. I totally agree. I think this desperation is evident and expressed in Commonwealth Counsel's motion. I think so too. I believe that they would obtain any monitored information of my client, a journalist covering the story. I wanted to make sure that whatever numbers were permitted to be privileged would indeed remain privileged and that there would be no mistakes. I learned that Captain Linsky was in charge of receiving numbers for the defense team. At that time, Mr. Carney had a civil legal team with a number of people working on the First Amendment aspects of this case. Attorney Elizabeth Dembrowski led counsel, offered me some personnel to assist. I wanted their numbers to be on the privileged calls list as members of the defense team. Tara Rayner, thank you again. I appreciate it. I could send them to you. Means sheriff lied in court. Yeah, I realize that. Thank you. No, I've seen them posted as well. I do appreciate that. I have seen them posted as well. And that's a question of whether or not they're going to charge the guard at the that testified in court. Now the thing was, I'm not even sure if he was under oath. I'm not even sure if you remember, he was not considered technically a witness. Bradl objected to him saying anything in court, and the judge corrected him and was like, well, he's not really a witness. He's just here to serve the purpose pretty much of educating me more or less on what the rules are in court. But regardless, it turned out to be fine. You know, I appreciate you going over that detail, Raina, but like I said, I don't think at the end of the day it caused really any harm because his motion was denied. Mello's motion was denied, so it caused no harm. And I'm sure that he is, and the judge even said it was a jail situation, a jail issue, not a court issue. Hence why she denied his motion, I would think. I wanted their numbers to be on the privileged calls list as members of the defense team. I believe I traded messages with Captain Stephen Linsky or maybe briefly spoke to him, giving him phone numbers for new members of our team, giving what I thought was their respective roles for placement on the unmonitored calls list. He was very accommodating, professional, and helpful. He accepted all numbers and designations of personnel. The voicemail on page 5 of the Commonwealth's motion sounds correct, but it is not verified by affidavit. In any event, assuming it is accurate, I am providing a couple more phone numbers to him for inclusion of the privilege list. I provided Miss Altman, who I thought was an attorney, but then I said in the voicemail, Courtney Healy, paralegal 781, blah, 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 and made sure my own numbers were still on the list from past clients by providing them as well. Miss Healy was placed on the list as a paralegal and had unmonitored calls. Captain Linsky left me a voicemail at work December 29th, 2023, which is transcribed accurately here. Counsel, this is Captain Linsky. I have everybody's numbers entered. Your two phone numbers were already entered in the system at some point in the past. Jennifer's number is entered. Courtney's and other two I got the other day. Elizabeth and Mark, everything's entered. Thank you, sir. Bye. The voicemails are proof that there's no intent to deceive anyone. I said Courtney was a paralegal. The Mark reference in paragraph 13 was our investigator and disclosed as such. These were the team members that were going to be planning strategy with Mr. Carney. I wanted them on the list. The jail allowed Courtney as a paralegal and Mark as an investigator. At some point later, the jail reversed their position and did not allow Mark or Courtney or Jennifer to have such calls. I did not knowingly misrepresent anyone, and it was made clear that I was asking for investigator and paralegal numbers to be included. It is baseless, false, unprofessional, and defamatory that Commonwealth Counsel characterized the above as a conspiracy to circumvent jail rules. I would never do that for a case or client. I was not informed by anyone from the jail or Miss Altman, who I only spoke on the phone with her maybe twice prior to the motion being filed, that she was called and asked if she was an attorney. If Mello, Miss Altman, or the jail had informed me that there was an issue, I would have looked into it and addressed it appropriately. You good, buddy? Okay. There was no deception here, only an honest mistake. If I'd known of it, I would have corrected it. It appears to me that Commonwealth Counsel exercised willful ignorance, retardation, to use this as ammunition for a character assassination attack on me rather than exercise due diligence and make reasonable inquiry to investigate the situation. So, in other words, it's obvious what Mello's character here is and what his style is, because instead of actually doing his due diligence to try to find out the truth and try to find out if his brother-in-law could be making a mistake, well then, he didn't do that. Instead, he tried to find ways to attack him, to try to throw him under the bus, to try to get him screwed over by the court. That's all he tried to do. He wasn't trying to get to the truth. He was trying to create a truth and then create situations surrounding this made up truth in order to execute a successful attack on Bradl, which turned out to be unsuccessful because the judge saw right through it. To reiterate, at this time, I thought 2 of the new personnel were paralegals and that Miss Altman was an attorney, but I was mistaken. I never was made aware of the mistake until I saw Mello's motion falsely claiming otherwise. If I had been made aware of it, of course, I would have corrected it. Now, it goes on and on and on here. And, it says that he's not responsible for jail policies and so on and so forth. And I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to manage time here. And it goes on to say, there are a number of false statements in Mello's motion. Ms. Altman informed me she spoke with Mr. Carney only about 3 times. Mello falsely alleges she spoke to him on over 60 calls, para 8 motion. Mello states, I was aware that Jennifer Altman was not and has never been an attorney, para 7 motion. This is false. Counsel has no window into my thought process or store of knowledge. Had he made the inquiry necessary to support such a statement by calling me, we could have ascertained my mistake. As to the balance of the assertions in paragraph 7, I had no knowledge of Miss Altman's involvement or lack thereof in administering any websites or pages in her involvement with Mr. Carney's journalism. This motion has personally harmed me and triggered negative press coverage without any basis in fact. I believe it has affected my client's right to a fair trial. I, Timothy Bradl, on oath, blah, 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 goes on and on and on. Now, so I think it was today that Mello filed a motion responding to the fact that his motion was denied, and then Bradl filed this motion. So this was Mello filed a motion addressing this motion. So and I believe the judge's decision was that he had to file his motion by Friday. I could be mistaken, but I think he was supposed to file it on Friday. And if he filed this motion today, well, then he filed it too late. Hold on a second. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. All right. That was the one that was sent to me. I apologize, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, give me 1 second here. Looks like I'm going to have to look for this myself. So it might just take a second, guys. Nope. Okay, well, looks like I don't have it. So, all right. Well, that's just fucking fantastic. So, I'm just going to move on to Mello's response to the motion that I did not just read. Nope, I don't need it. I think we've all read it. It's fine. I had a mix up, and I apologize for that. But we're all aware of it. We've all already read it. I'm just going to read Mello's response because I don't have all night. So now what I will say is I know that Bradl had requested that, because I did read it here before. I know that Bradl had requested that Mello be recused from the case due to his misconduct and due to his lack of professionalism. So this is Mello's response to that. And it says here, the Commonwealth's opposition for defendant's emergency petition for relief from order revoking bail. So Bradl requested that Turtle Boy be that his revocation of bail be overturned, and basically he be released, and that Mello be reprimanded for misconduct and for his lack of professionalism. So, Commonwealth's opposition for defendant's emergency petition for relief from order revoking bail. Now comes the Commonwealth and states its objection to the defendant's emergency petition for relief. As grounds, therefore, the Commonwealth respectfully states the following. On or about December 22nd, 2023, the defendant was arraigned on a 16-count indictment, including counts of intimidation of a witness under MGL Chapter 268, Section 13B, before the Norfolk Superior Court, and released on his personal recognizance. Later that day, the defendant was contacted by an individual that the Commonwealth will refer to herein as Jane. Jane informed the defendant that she has been served with a subpoena to testify before the Norfolk grand jury. On December 26, 2023, Jane testified in the Dedham District Court and stated that she notified the defendant of the subpoena because she feared reprisal from the defendant if the defendant came to believe that Jane was voluntarily cooperating with the Commonwealth in an ongoing investigation of the defendant's criminal activities. Stated that she notified the defendant of the subpoena because she feared reprisal from the defendant if the defendant came to believe that Jane was voluntarily cooperating with the Commonwealth in an ongoing investigation of the defendant's criminal activities. Okay. So let me get this straight, Mello, because I love that. That's really funny. Right off the bat, that's really funny. Because unless I'm reading that wrong, he's basically saying that because she was afraid of Turtle Boy finding out that she was cooperating with the investigation. Okay, I have to read. Okay. Mello saying that she was afraid of finding that she told Turtle Boy about her cooperation in the investigation because she was afraid of him finding out about her cooperation with the investigation. Is that what he's I got to read that one more time because that makes no sense to me. I got to make sure. See, Mello, this is doing your due diligence. I just want to make sure that I'm reading that correctly before I call you a fucking retard. On December 26, 2023, Jane testified in the Dedham District Court and stated that she notified the defendant of the subpoena because she feared reprisal from the defendant if the defendant came to believe that Jane was voluntarily cooperating with the Commonwealth in an ongoing investigation of the defendant's criminal activities. All right. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. So what that basically says is there's actually a pretty clear distinction here. It's not that clear, but I'll explain it. So the fact that she was subpoenaed, I guess he's trying to say, he's just bad at wording it, but I guess what he's trying to say is she notified Turtle Boy about her subpoena because she didn't want him to think that she voluntarily went in. She's being forced with a subpoena. The subpoena basically stating that there's a subpoena implies that her hand is being forced, that she has no choice. She has no say in the matter. Since she's being subpoenaed, she has to testify. So she's afraid that he's going to find out that she is, of her own doing, walking in there and cooperating and saying, "Oh, I'm here to fucking grass all over Turtle Boy." That's not okay. It's just Mello sucks. So, but yeah, I see the difference there. The record shows that with full knowledge of the fact that Jane was a witness, and by the defendant's own admission in open court, the defendant went to Jane's home late on the evening of December 23rd, 2023, contrary to the advice of his counsel. Okay. But it fails to state the fact that she called him, that she asked him to come over. And that he wasn't aware that she was a witness until he got there, according to Turtle Boy's testimony, unless I'm remembering that incorrectly. But if I remember correctly, he went over there so that she could tell him that she had been subpoenaed. So I don't think that, I don't think that he knew. That was part of his argument, is that he did not know that she was being subpoenaed until he had gotten over there that evening, if I remember correctly. The record shows that with full knowledge of the fact that Jane was a witness, and by the defendant's own admission in open court, the defendant went to Jane's home late in the evening of December 23rd, 2023, contrary to the advice of his counsel. The record shows the defendant stayed in Jane's home for approximately 6 to 7 hours. During that time, the defendant searched the contents of Jane's phone, took notes regarding said contents, and informed Jane that it was her right to delete the contents of her phone, insofar as the phone was her property, so that the investigators could not view its contents. The record shows that the defendant informed Jane that she had been shown that the defendant could not trust her, and stated that he would pay for an attorney for her who would protect both of their interests under the condition that the defendant was present during the conferences between Jane and the attorney. The record shows that while at Jane's home, the defendant engaged in a series of acts and course of conduct designed to intimidate Jane, and ultimately committed an assault and battery on Jane in the early morning hours of December 24th, 2023. We all heard the recording. We all know that that's absolute and utter bullshit. And this is being painted to be something that it is not. Hold on a second here. I mean, this is just like, this is the most lazily written fucking, this is unbelievable. On December 26, 2023, the Dedham District Court conducted a lengthy hearing and reviewed an affidavit submitted by Jane in the context of a hearing on an application for a domestic abuse protective order. The requested order was issued by the court. On December 26, 2023, the Dedham District Court arraigned the defendant, who is represented on charges of domestic assault and battery. Upon hearing the court, okay, see, I'm just thumbing through this because, okay, I see, I'm not even going to read the rest of that because all it does is give a recap of what happened. Like, so what's Mello's strategy here? Like, there seems to be absolutely no effort. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, even though he doesn't deserve it. But I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt in the sense that I'm gonna say that maybe his in so many words, his effort is to prove to the judge, hey, I don't even have to present a case here. Like, the shit was issued, and it's stupid to not, you know what I mean? So all he's doing is just repeating. The judge already knows this stuff. The judge is going to educate themselves on this case. Well, yeah, Tracy Ann Chasing. The strategy is to keep him quiet until Karen goes to trial. Silence Turtle Boy. Of course, we all know this. And thank you, but yeah, we all know this. I'm saying his strategy in filing this motion seems to be that it's like, well, the bail revocation speaks for itself. This is why he had his bail revoked, because he supposedly assaulted this woman. Now, but it doesn't seem to refute anything that Mello says. It just says this is what our case was, and it was established in this court, in the restraining order court, in open court, in the hearing for the restraining order. It was already established that this is the stuff, and that's why his restraining order was granted, because of all of this stuff that was established. The bail was revoked. The bail was revoked in order to investigate, find out what happened, because he broke the law. He went over to a witness's home, and not even to investigate. I mean, once it's established that he went over to the home, then that's it. He broke the law. If she claims, hey, he pushed me onto a couch, and he denies it, doesn't really matter. He broke the law, and the law is whether or not he was intimidating a witness. That stuff could be interpreted as him intimidating a witness. But when we see Mello's, when we see the reason why Bradl has filed a motion that he be removed from the case, and also filed a motion to get Turtle Boy's bail revocation lifted. Well, I mean, you would think that Mello's strategy might be to defend himself, because all he seems to be doing is defending himself via the results of a completely different court. It's not even the criminal court. It's the domestic civil court, where that has nothing to do with his bail. And I'm just thinking out loud here, people. But it doesn't seem to have anything to do with his bail, what he's talking about. So I don't know if that's going to help him or hurt him when the judge considers this. But hopefully the judge is a straight shooter. I'm thinking it's going to be the same judge, hopefully. The same judge that resided over Mello's motion to basically deny Turtle Boy of his right to attorney-client privilege, because that lady didn't seem like she was playing. So hopefully it's the same judge, and if that's the same judge, this judge, I already suspect that she is already on to Mello and what he's doing. And I would assume that's probably part of the reason why why Bradl felt confident to file those motions, because you have to be fucking blind. You'd have to be absolutely fucking blind. Hold on a second. I recently... Okay. Let me do something here real quick. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Basically, you'd have to be blind to not see Mello's tactics. And if this judge is an ethical judge, which I get the impression that she is, if this judge is an ethical judge, then she's going to, I mean, I don't know what grounds, if she has enough grounds to actually remove Mello from the case, but she has to be able to see that Turtle Boy was locked up under railroaded circumstances. He was absolutely fucking railroaded. But I wonder, and I'm concerned that this judge would have to review that hearing in a separate court case. She'd have to review that hearing where this Jane testified and where Turtle Boy testified, and then this protective order was granted. and extended for a year. So I'm concerned that she would have to do all that. But I mean, I am pretty much convinced that she at least knows that Mello is incompetent. The question is whether or not she believes that Mello is incompetent enough to be removed from the case. And hopefully I have time. So let me go ahead and just as promised, thank you, Cherry. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and read the correct motion filed by Bradl, which is what the subject matter of today's live is about. So let me go ahead and read that. And I've got a couple of I want to go ahead and say thank you to oh, it's not even showing. Okay, so I want to say thank you to Shirley and to Carrie Ann for the donations via Venmo and Cash App. I appreciate that. So here is the petition that Bradl filed. I'm going to go ahead and go through that real quick. And I just want to get past all of the stuff that that's just formalities in order to file something. So I just want to get past that stuff. So it basically says, Mr. Carney respectfully requests that the single justice render a speedy de novo decision on the trial court's defective bail revocation. Mr. Carney has additionally been the victim of a coordinated full court press by police and prosecutors across the above caption 3 cases against his First Amendment rights and his investigative muckraking journalism. Mr. Carney did not commit crimes in connection with the district court complainant and was instead set up by investigators who used a troubled woman to exact revenge with false charges. He also asked the single justice, once the bail issue is determined, to reserve and report the further issues raised in his trio of cases to the full bench of briefing, solicitation of amici, and argument as follows. The bail revoked out of Norfolk Superior Court for 16 counts of witness intimidation, picketing, and related conspiracy indictments was set on unprecedented and unconstitutional charges, infringing on defendants' First Amendment rights, and brought in violation of procedural and substantive due process for lack of notice that the conduct peaceful investigative journalism, satire, and political hyperbole was now deemed for the first time the crime of witness intimidation under GI 268, section 13A and 13B. Okay, so this is funny because already we're already seeing how much better of an attorney Bradl is. I'm actually glad I got to read this after I read Mello's response to this, because Mello's response to this is so half-assed. And I was speaking out of theory because I didn't remember what this said. Even though we went over it, I didn't remember exactly what this said. But it's very funny to me that again, Mello didn't in any way, shape, or form defend himself or defend the investigators at all whatsoever. Hell, he didn't even deny these allegations, which is fascinating to me. At no point did he go, Bradl is desperate, and he, I mean, he's doing, he's not even doing the job that, what's her face, this girl, her attorney, whatever the fuck, Jane, I guess they're calling her, Jane's attorney in that hearing, he's not even doing what he did. Mello's not even doing what he did. It's fascinating to me because there's not even one hint in Mello's response to this of, Bradl is resorting to accusing respected investigators and experienced investigators, and my being an attorney for 40 years, he's accusing us of a conspiracy to railroad his client, which is just a ridiculous notion, Your Honor. Nothing to even word that in any way, shape, or form. No attempt to even gaslight Bradl for saying something so outlandish to the average person who's not familiar with this case. Because if you say that shit to somebody who's not familiar with the ins and outs of this case, you're going to sound like an insane fucking asshole. You're going to sound like an insane person. Martin Rich, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate it. You're going to sound nuts. I mean, we say this all the time. I mean, you go and you try to explain this shit to somebody who's not familiar with this, and they're going to think that you're crazy. Until they do their own digging, until they look into this case on their own, they're going to look at you like you're totally off your shit. So I find it hilarious that Mello didn't even defend himself against this stuff. He did nothing to deny it. All he said was, in a separate court, this woman testified in open court. That's all he did. And in this motion, he's being accused of being part of a dirty conspiracy to railroad his client. The statute is vague, overbroad, and violates the First Amendment in Article 16. It absolutely does. The district court's defective bail revocation inflicts particular irreparable harm on Mr. Carney, warranting review by the full bench. The order deprives him, as a professional journalist, of the ability to investigate the Reed case as it develops, and stealing from him forever for each day of incarceration the ability to exercise his fundamental rights under the First Amendment and Article 16. He cannot wait for the normal appellate review process because his rights will be lost forever, and the unlawful campaign to suppress Mr. Carney's reporting will have prevailed over the First Amendment and Article 16. Very well spoken. I mean, Bradl's just killing it here. He's absolutely just killing it. I mean, how do you argue with that? Because all you got to do is just Google the First fucking Amendment. I did that here twice that I even remember. Twice. It's blatant. You cannot make this law. Now, someone emailed me and told me that the law, and I don't know how accurate this is. It's just, I was thumbing through emails and I saw this one, and I don't even remember who sent it to me, but thank you for whoever did. And it says that the law itself was passed after the murder took place. Now, the question and the implication of the email was basically like, well, do you think that's suspicious that they would cover this or they would make this law just before or just after this murder, and right after the murder took place? I mean, what that would imply is that they made this law and they would anticipate Turtle Boy and everybody else when the murder took place. and they would anticipate people picketing and protesting. I don't think that they anticipated that. I am not going to give them that much credit. But the law is pretty fresh. Now I'm wondering if the law passed and maybe the Sandra Birchmore case may have held some inspiration for that law being passed. That's possible. But I don't know. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to look too deeply into that. Let me go ahead and finish reading this real quick. The order deprives him, as a professional journalist, the ability to investigate the Reed case as it develops, and stealing from him forever for each day of incarceration. I already read that. Sorry. The restraining order granted in Dedham District Court, based on the same allegations in the Dedham District Court criminal matter, contained an overbroad, vague, unlawful prior restraint in that it ordered Mr. Carney, by way of an ex parte telephone hearing in paragraph 14, not to disclose confidential DCF records and or court records relating to the plaintiff. DCF meaning Department of Children and Families. See restraining order para 14 filed herewith. Mr. Carney's telephones and computers were seized in connection with the now Superior Court indictments regarding witness intimidation and picketing. And the state police and the special ADA appointed have not provided copies of the contents of the devices and have not provided the Superior Court with a written plan to search the items with a third-party screening team, as they have agreed, as is required by Preventive Medicine Associates Incorporated. Which is interesting there too, because how does Tully know? I have to make this point every time. How does Tully know the contents of Turtle Boy's tech if he had not gotten the warrant passed to search the tech that they seized? Because he actually used what he found on Turtle Boy's tech as probable cause to seize Karen Reed's phones. I find that very fascinating. I wonder how he's going to answer for that. Single justice jurisdiction for bail issue. The proper means for review of errors in law intended a trial court bail revocation is through a petition to the single justice, invoking the court's inherent authority to correct errors and abuses in inferior courts as codified, blah, 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 two leading bail revocation cases. So he basically just states, guys, I'm playing beat the clock here. I'm sorry. I'm rushing through this, but I'm only going to read what is very important for us to understand, not the judge. We don't need to quote laws. We don't need to quote laws and past cases that he's doing. But he's very thorough here. We therefore think that the single justice system has the power to consider the matter anew, taking into account facts newly presented, and to exercise his own judgment and discretion without remanding the matter for reconsideration by the Superior Court judge. Thus, the single justice section is the proper forum, and the framework of review is to honor the need for a speedy resolution for an incarcerated petitioner by allowing the single justice to decide the matter anew without remand under commesso supra. There is then the possibility of an appeal to the full bench on errors of law only. Now I'm going to go ahead and share this in the chat. So clearly, in case I'm not able to get to all of it tonight, clearly you could see that Bradl did his due diligence. He did everything in his power. He dug up everything. He dug up everything that he could to convince this judge that Aiden Carney, a.k.a. Turtle Boy, is currently locked up. Currently, his freedom has been stripped of him under unconstitutional actions, under actions that violate blatantly his constitutional rights. So, I mean, basically just goes on and on explaining why it's unlawful. He's not going over any past he's not going over any past situations that brought him to this point. This is merely sticking to the law that has been applied to rob him of his First Amendment rights and his basic freedom. Clubber, stop, dude. Please. Thank you. So this goes on and on as to what they're claiming he did in order to have his bail revoked. And it says here the district court erred in ordering a 90-day revocation. And he goes into explaining every section and every chapter and every law as to why they did. So I'm not a judge, but I will read the conclusion real quick. For the foregoing reasons, Mr. Carney respectfully requests that the single justice hear the matter regarding his bail revocation, vacate the ruling of district court revoking bail, and return him to liberty under the prior superior court bail determination. He further requests that the single justice reserve and report the remaining issues set forth above to the full bench of the reasons stated. Finally, he requests that the justice enter any further orders and rulings necessary to effectuate his requests and any such other relief as the justice deems proper. Wherefore, Mr. Carney respectfully requests that the single justice enter the appropriate orders as above. So Turtle Boy, his attorney clearly isn't fucking around. I mean, for when you look at that and you look at Mello's response, and I mean, Mello's response is a 4-page, lazily written recap of the decisions that were made, but not based on anything other than the law that Bradl in this motion goes out of his way to show why it's unconstitutional. Not only does he show that it is unconstitutional, he shows why it's unconstitutional and that the court made an error. They erred in revoking his bail for 90 days and keeping him incarcerated, infringing on his First Amendment rights, infringing on his right to make a living, infringing on his right to walk in and out of his house every day. I mean, so I don't see this. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a judge. I'm not a court officer in any way, shape, or form. Never have been. Never even been on jury duty. But I'm telling you right now, I don't see how a judge could deny this. I don't see how a judge is not going to let Turtle Boy out. And you also have to keep in mind that if this is not only a win in the sense, if Turtle Boy is released from jail and this motion that Bradl had filed, if Turtle Boy gets released from jail based upon this is not just a win in that sense that Turtle Boy gets to get out of jail. It's not a win just in that sense. It's also a win. It's also a win because this is all on record. If a judge makes this decision And this is the kind of pressure that this judge is going to have. At least I'm imagining so. I don't know for sure, but I imagine that the judge is under some sort of pressure because this is going to imply, I mean, he's saying this man was railroaded due to corrupt investigators, corrupt district attorneys, the district attorney's office that is currently under investigation by the Department of Justice, by the state attorney's office. This is and my client is in jail right now as a result of these things. And they only locked him up and wanted to search his tech because Clever, please give me that. Give me that. Bring it here. Bring it here. Bring it here. Please. Okay, sorry about that. They only wanted to search his tech to find out what he knew about the federal investigation. This is undeniable. Clever, don't even think about it, dude. I just took that away from you because you were making too much noise with it. I need you to find something else that's not as noisy, and you can chew on it all day. Okay, buddy? Thank you so much, Sons 107. My 11-year-old daughter Remy wanted to say hi. Hi, Remy. I don't know why you're letting an 11-year-old watch this show, though. Okay, this is not for children. Remy, you go watch superheroes or something, man. Don't watch me. Bad. Not good. So yeah, clearly, there's an investigation, and the evidence just dictates that Mello and mostly Morrissey are just freaking out as to what Turtle Boy knows, what Karen Reed knows, what Karen Reed's attorneys, mostly what Karen Reed's attorneys know about this federal investigation. This based on, and I want to give a quick shout out to Sean McDonough and say thank you again to him for joining me. I believe he's going to be on Attorney Melanie Little's channel tonight. That should be good. And I want to thank him for being so candid here. And thank everybody for watching he seems to have the inside scoop on what's going on with the Karen Reed trial. That's probably not going to happen. Oh wait, they rescheduled?